Anthropocentric is the title of your new record, and the title says it's like the central theme is the thought of the human being as being the main entity in the universe, and it's the counterpart to heliocentric. So did you come up with the lyrical concept and the music?
Yeah, that'll be me. Well, the music, I mean, Anthropocentric is the first album where I didn't write the music all by myself. Our other guitarist Jonah wrote 3.5 songs basically, and Louis wrote a song too, our bass player. That's the first time in the history of this band, and I'm very happy about that because I finally play with people that write stuff that I really like. Up until Heliocentric, I've done everything myself and programmed every single drum fill myself, and that was cool for me because I could really, do what I wanted to do, but at the same time, it is kind of limiting, and it's better to have people who have ideas that go beyond what you can do yourself. And now that's the case with this current lineup, and I'm very happy about that. So musically, it's a collaborative effort more than ever before. Lyrically, I am the person writing all the lyrics, and who came up with all the concepts.
You to write philosophy?
Well, these. It's things that I essentially care about. It's not that I go to a library and dig out a book and think, okay, this would be cool for a nerdy concept album or something like that. I've been thinking about the whole topic of organized religion and especially the legacy of Christianity forever. Like, I was first exposed to it when I was 16 and living with a diehard Baptist Christian host family in the US. And I had these daily discussions with my host sister back then, and she tried to convince me that the dinosaurs are a big myth, that they never existed, that Earth was 5,000 years old. And on one hand, I felt her to be somehow sympathetic. On the other hand, I was just surprised how someone so young and not really stupid was so obsessed by these ideas that were just like picked up somewhere and that were obviously not our own, So since then I've been thinking a lot about it, and I did study philosophy and read a lot of religious philosophers, and Nietzsche was a big influence for me in my personal approach to life, I believe. And now with these 2 albums, I thought that this would be a good chance to make an album about all that. And of course you can't squeeze everything into the constraints of a double album, or like a single album wouldn't be possible at all. There's a lot of things we left out, and we had to pick certain priorities and certain things that we really wanted to talk about, and that essentially means leaving out other things. So that's always a compromise that has to be made. But I think we touched the topic and the subject matter from a lot of different angles, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out in the end.
So you already mentioned the changing lineups. The collective, the Ocean, it always consisted of changing members, like you said. But that seems to have changed now because you got a stable lineup. You had a bunch of tours with this lineup. What's the reason for that change?
It wasn't really a conscious decision. It was more that the fact that we had this collective approach to things was because it was not something that we wanted to have. It was something that was just the way it was, basically. I didn't kick out people like every 6 months just because I wanted new people. It was more that people left because they felt that touring isn't really for them, or that they wanted to start having kids and like founding families, or like focusing on their career jobs and whatnot. So we constantly had to deal with people leaving the band for different reasons, and that's why we had so many people in and out of the band. Now, since the Swiss invasion took place, basically, that was started with our current guitarist Jonah, who entered the band end of 2007. That has changed, and I'm very happy about that, because I've always been looking for like a steady lineup of people who are into it for the right reasons, who are good people that you want to sit in a van with for 6-7 months a year, and that share the same musical vision that I have. And that's very, very difficult to find. Like, so many things have to work out, It has to work out technically, it has to work out in terms of having people that want that kind of life, which means being far away from your families and girlfriends for most of the year, living under pretty shit conditions, sleeping few hours per night and all that. And it's hard to find people who are so devoted to do that, and who are at the same time good guys, not assholes, and good musicians too. And that took me almost 10 years to find these people, and now with the current lineup I'm pretty sure I have arrived at that kind of point that I was looking for a long time, and I'm very happy about that. So there is no reason to change that anymore, and I think this band is going to stay as it is. I mean, you never know, you know, like you will always have people's life situations change, and you know, you can't really control that. So yeah, you never know, but I'm pretty confident that it's going to stay like that for a good while.
Yeah, you already mentioned the shitty conditions, no sleeping, driving in the van like for 10 hours and stuff. And you've been doing this for 10 years. So I was going to ask you, how do you motivate yourself when there's a shitty day, when there are no people attending the shows? How do you keep your mind in the right mindset?
Sometimes it's almost impossible, like if it's really like that, if you've been driving 12 hours to get to a show where there are no people, there is nothing you can tell yourself to make you feel better. It's just gonna suck. But fortunately that's not the case on most days, you know. Most of the shows on this tour have been quite rewarding. I feel that we're finally getting somewhere, that people are coming out to see us specifically, and yeah, and attendances rise. We're still not drawing, you know, like thousands or even hundreds of people, but there's a solid turnout on every show of this tour, and that's good to see. So I'm very happy about that. And most of the time it's awesome. Like even if you drive, you know, like 10 hours, you get to a venue. In Europe, you usually get good food, people taking care of you. You're hanging out with your friends. You play music that you've written yourself, and I'd say the good aspects usually outweigh the bad aspects, but not always. And on the days when this is not the case, well, you just have to fight your way through, you know, and you may go to bed being bummed out and frustrated, but the next morning things usually look better. So I've turned into a pretty positive nature over the years, I believe, and try to get the best out of things, and sometimes that's difficult, but usually it's good, and I wouldn't want to trade it for an office life that most of my friends lead. So it's a matter of choice. I took that choice and I don't regret it. If I did, I would, you know, quit any day and do something else, but as long as I'm enjoying it, I'm doing it, and I am still enjoying it. So
okay, my last question is going to be, how do your future plans look like? You said you are working on a DVD.
Yeah, that's the next big project. We filmed the record release show for Heliocentric in March 2010 in Switzerland. That was like a show with an extended lineup of 12, 13 people on stage, where we played almost the entire Heliocentric album. That's going to be on there. Then another show that we played in Berlin at the beginning of this year at a museum for musical instruments. Very weird occasion. They had never had a rock show in that place before, and it was like a seated audience kind of situation, so quite strange. That's going to be on there as well. And then probably a couple of other live tracks. We filmed our London show just 2 or 3 weeks ago on this tour. And we filmed a lot in the US. We had our documentary filmer with us for the whole tour. So there's going to be lots of live material from different shows, and then of course lots of behind the scenes stuff, and lots of talking about, you know, the albums and everything. I did song comments for Heliocentric, where I talk about every single song on that album and what inspired it and what's, you know, like the ideas behind it.
Yeah,
so those
YouTube, isn't it?
that's on YouTube. You find that, yeah. You can find that for Heliocentric. I haven't done it yet for Anthropocentric, but I'm planning to, and all this is going to be on the DVD as well, and then lots of different stuff. Probably our videos and our live visuals, but it's going to be like a massive double DVD. And we started working on it last year, and this year we're still going to continue, you know, collecting material, and then it's going to come out probably sometime in 2012. Okay. That's the next big project. In terms of touring, we're going to go back to the US before the end of the year. We're going to China in October, probably. I'm very much looking forward to that. And we're trying to do some territories where we haven't been yet, mainly Australia and South America. And I think as for what Europe is concerned, we're going to retreat from the map a little bit. We've toured a lot here over the last 2 or 3 years, especially. I mean, we've played in Vienna, I think, like 7 or 8 times. We played here with Rotten Sound in 2008, with Cult of Luna, with Opeth. It was all 2008. Then in 2009 with Burst, and last year with Dillinger Escape Plan, Anathema, and Coheed and Cambria. That's like 8 shows that we played in Vienna alone. And it's cool because interest has been growing. over these 2 or 3 years, but you also have to watch out that you don't overdo it, you know, that people don't get into the state where they think, okay, this band is coming back every 6 months anyway. And I think that's why we're going to take a break in Europe for at least a good year, maybe even longer. And then it's going to be a new album sometime next year, but we haven't really started working on it, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay, Robin, thank you so much for the interview. It was awesome.
Thanks. Cheers, man.